So there's a guy that I've known for over 10 years, maybe 15 years. And we met in the gym. And we kind of, we're kind of gonna date at the beginning. But it just didn't work out. Our personalities didn't match. He was a little aggressive in a dating situation. I'm not saying like sexually aggressive, because we've actually never slept together or anything like that, but he would get mad at things I would do. And at that time I had only known him for a short amount of time, a couple of months, and that's not something that I'm good with. Like, I'm not good with a man showing that he's possessive or over possessive, or would not want me to do certain things that I want to do. That's a big red flag for me. That's a no-go. It always has been. So after that short little time that we thought about dating each other, well, I thought about dating him, we became good friends because we went to the same gym classes. Like, I would see him multiple times a week, every week, like clockwork. And I liked him for the most part as a person, right? I want to pose a question. So if you date someone and they have red flags for you, are you okay with being their friend? Like, is that something we should do? At this point, I say no, and I'll go into why. So we became friends, but it seemed like every time I talked to him, he would start talking about something sexual. It didn't have to be sexual with me per se or with him, but he would just say something randomly sexual. And at first it was kind of like, haha, funny. Like, a lot of times he was joking. But then it started to kind of annoy me, because I'm like, dude, I don't see you that way. And one time I called him out on it, because I didn't want to talk to him or call him, and we would talk about things that would happen in our life, and then all of a sudden he would turn the conversation sexual. And I was just like, why do we have to talk about something sexual? This is not a turn on. I saw him more like a brother after years and years than anything else. So that was really disturbing to me, that he would always talk about sexual stuff. Even when I brought it up to him one day, I was in Vegas and we were talking. I was actually pregnant at the time. So I was in the room while my friend went out because I was pregnant and I was tired. I forgot why we went to Vegas. That was years ago. But we were talking in the room, and he was on the phone. I was in the room, and we were just talking about random stuff. And then all of a sudden it turned sexual, and it was just like, dude, I gotta go. I specifically remember that time because I was so, like, turned off by it. So I wouldn't really call him. He would call me. We would talk every once in a while. There was a time last year, no, probably the year before, in 2021, where we would get together with friends at his house, and he would cook. He had a smoker. He liked to cook. We would all bring alcohol and everything. I'd bring my daughter, even my ex, and we would all just kind of have a good time, talk and everything like that. And it was always super cool. We would do it once a week for like a few weeks during the summer. So fast forward to last year, or earlier this year. Was it earlier this year? No, it was last year. We live in Inglewood. He lives close to the Rams Stadium. And he invited me to a game. And he had also invited some other female friends, like 4 or 5 of them, right? So we all met up. I met him at his house. We walked over to the game, to SoFi, because it's right around the corner, and met up with the girls. we were all sitting in different places because I guess he had some friends who had some season tickets and gave him the season tickets. So me and him sat at one section kind of closer to the field. I guess that was his section. And then he gave, there were, I think, 4 other girls. They each pair sat somewhere different. And we were going to meet up, and we met up after. So after the game, we all met up. We walked back to his house. There were a lot of people that lived in that housing complex walking back from the game, people that he knew. So a lot of them came over his house, and we were just, conversing, drinking, eating, just chilling after the football game. I was meeting a guy for a drink not far on the other side of SoFi at, what is it called? I forget. At, I forgot what the name of the restaurant is. Anyway, I left. I met him for a drink. We were just chilling. I get a text from my friend, my male friend, and he's like, come back by. I made some more food. I made some meat. Come eat before you go home. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I had been out drinking, went to the football game. I didn't eat a whole bunch that day. So before I went home, I went back to his place. I sat at his table. I ate. I sat on the couch and ended up falling asleep. Not sure how long I was asleep, but all of a sudden I feel him pulling me. And I'm like waking up. I've been drinking. I'm not super crazy drunk, but I was in a deep sleep at the time. So I'm waking up. He's pulling me onto him, like to where my body is laying on top of his body, but we're sitting and my back is on him. And he starts massaging my shoulders, and I'm like thinking, okay, this is weird, but fine. He wants to give me a massage. Okay. Until his hand started coming down into my shirt. I immediately woke up. I immediately jumped up. I was like, I have to go. He's like, let me get my shoes. I'll walk you out. The only reason why I didn't run out the door is because I had known this man for so long and we had a friendship. But at that point, I was pretty devastated. I felt like, dang, like seriously? He walked into my car, he kissed me, and I was just like, no, I got into my car, I left, I drove home. The next day, I text him and I'm like, you took advantage of me. Like, we're supposed to be friends. And he's like, oh, I have feelings. And I was just like, I don't care about your feelings in a situation like this. Your feelings mean nothing to me where you're taking advantage of me. Like, I'm your friend. If your friend falls asleep on the couch, you give them a blanket, a pillow maybe. You don't put your hand down their shirt. But when I go back to thinking about all the conversations we had that turned sexual, I kind of thought he has a lot of female friends. He's a man. Men sometimes think that speaking to a woman in a sexual nature is like normal stuff. Some men tend to talk to other men like about, women and mention things like that. So I try to not take it personally and just think, all right, this guy is just what he is. He was dating and stuff like that, so he was constantly like in a honeymoon phase with women, constantly meeting a new woman, starting some kind of relationship with them. But at the beginning things are more sexual because it's new. We had talked many times about his girlfriends and things like that, my boyfriends. He knew the father of my daughter. We all hung out together weekly the years before that. So I was sad to lose a friend, but also better for it. Because I used to feel obligated to speak to him because I wanted to speak to him because I liked him as a person until the conversation went into a sexual nature and I had to get off the phone. Sometimes I would stay on the phone because I would, want to talk to him and felt bad that I never called him because of the nature of his speech. So I just wanted to put that out there for anyone who has dealt with anything like that. It's something that I didn't really pay attention to until the end, the culmination of all of it, because I really thought we were friends. But I realized after all that time, after 15 years, he was not my friend. He was a guy who saw me in primarily a sexual nature. And yeah, that's what it was for the most part, And it made me so sad. But it also made me think about my ex-best friend who stopped talking to me. And I thought to myself, she must not have liked me in the first place, because we were friends for over 20 years and you told me you didn't want to be friends anymore because we were too different. And we've always been different to me. And she said, like, we're going in different directions. And I'm like, wait, we're supposed to be friends forever. But obviously she didn't like me. So, it is what it is. And I think that we should take those things with a grain of salt, even though they're very hurtful. Because, what can you do? If someone feels how they feel, like him seeing me in a sexual manner, there's nothing that I could have ever done to make him change the way he felt. That's how he saw me. That's what it was. I wish before the end happened that maybe I would have asked more questions. Instead of assuming that's the way he spoke to people, realize that that's the way he spoke to me as a woman who he wanted to sleep with, but I never went there with him. I never wanted to. So, just goes to show you never know who people are. But just for anyone, who's dealt with anything like that, just know it's not your fault. I know that it wasn't my fault. I don't care if anyone wants to say, oh, you shouldn't have fell asleep at his house. If it's someone that I've known for 15 years plus, I'm not going to feel anything about falling asleep on their couch after I've been drinking, because my expectation is not that you're going to take advantage of me. But predators are predators. They are who they are, regardless of how long you know them, right? I guess it's always the people that you know that do things to you that hurt you, or that, just take advantage of you. Yeah, so what can you do? So now, I don't, for the most part, have male friends, because I feel like a lot of men speak in a sexual nature. Like, I don't know. I'm 42. Like, I'm not brand new to the scene. Like, if you have something to say it, or don't speak to me in a sexual nature. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, what, I'm going to come on to you because you're kind of slightly hinting to me that you want to do something with me? So women, men, anyone listening, don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in what other people want. It's like when they say, believe someone the first time. I should have believed that he was a predator from when he started talking about sexual stories he had with people and would tell me all about those things. Like, it turned me on or made me see him in that light. It didn't make me see you in that light. If you're a man or woman and you're talking to someone who you want to sleep with in that way, that more likely is not making them see you that way. That's not the way it works. So anyway, thank you for listening. Please feel free to comment, like, subscribe to my posts. My YouTube channel is basically me being honest and upfront and transparent for anyone who needs to hear it or has been through similar situations and cannot feel alone. Let me know if you have, not that. So I want to add, it doesn't matter. Oh, you know what? In that situation with him, he got mad at me because after that happened, I didn't want to talk. I told him how I felt. I said, you took advantage of me. He was there. He knew what happened. And he wanted to talk about it. I didn't want to talk. I didn't have anything to say. The friendship was over for me. There's no getting past that. Even if we talked and I was like, oh, okay, I forgive you, it was still done for me, But I let him know how I felt. I think that when we talk about not giving a fuck, people say I give no fucks, right? That's a good place to live, to be in, the I don't give a fuck stage. And I agree it is, but I don't really think that I don't give a fuck should be used for anyone that you've been friends with for a super long time. Like, if I want to stop being friends with someone, I'm going to let them know how I feel. I'm not going to ghost them. I'm not going to tell them I don't want to be friends with you. I'm going to talk to them about what my issues are. If they don't fix those issues or they don't care, then that's one thing. But I'm going to let them know how I feel. So in that situation, I didn't feel like I owed him anything because I feel like he knew. I think sometimes in sexual situations like that, another person, the person who commits the fallacy, the person who does the molesting or whatever, wants to have conversations and explain themselves like it's normal and natural. But it's not normal and natural. So if something happened like that to you or someone that you know, let them know that they do not have to feel obligated to speaking to that person ever in life, especially if they're uncomfortable. Sometimes these things happen in families, to family members. Don't feel the need to see them at Christmas. If you don't want to go, don't go. It doesn't matter what anyone else says. Don't put yourself in an uncomfortable situation where you know that someone is a piece of shit. Because that's what it is. That's what I wanted to add. If you have any stories like this, share with me. I want to be able to help or talk or listen or comment or give advice or take advice or all that stuff with anyone who's dealing with anything like this or who has. Because as you see, this happened to me, and for the most part I'm over it, but it was still a shock and a hurt. And this happened, I think, over a year ago now. And it's okay to take your time to get over things. You know, and I feel like in this whole like Cassie and P. Diddy situation, which I know hers, I mean, I didn't read any of the documents or really listen to too much of the stuff. I just heard a little bit, but I'm pretty sure what she went through was way worse than him putting his hand down my shirt. But it's just like when you trust someone, you want to think that they're not going to hurt you. And when they do, it's super, super hurtful. And I think that it's okay that it took her a while to really come back from that and say, hey, this is what happened and it sucked and I want money. And people are like, oh, she just wants money, which, yeah, she does. What else can she ask for? She can't get anything else back except money, right? And that's what he was giving to her all that time, was money in different types of ways. In living, I'm sure gifts, vacations, just the lifestyle was based on money. So yeah, what else is she gonna ask for? He took her dignity. She can't have that back. She regained it. She gave it back to herself. And when she did, and she had the support she needed, she came back and was like, hey, the world needs to know. So as well as getting money, she put everyone on alert to this predator. Because even though all these people came out and said, hey, we knew this about P. Diddy and all this, they weren't saying anything. He was out here living life like he owned everything and no one was saying anything. And then Cassie came out. And then other women came out. Because it gives them the strength when they know that they're not alone. And that's what I'm doing. To know that if something like this happened to you, you are not alone. And you know, in this situation, it went really out of line one time. And if I was going to continue to be friends with this person, it would have probably went out of line worse more times. Which is what I'm sure happened to Cassie. I mean, once you start living a higher life and you have a record deal or whatever, someone's producing and caring about your music, like for her, you know, you don't just walk away. You wish that it changes, but you don't walk away. And what happens? It just gets worse. So in this situation, in my situation, it was, you know, kind of a mild, a hand down a shirt is really, really bad. But compared to what other things can happen to someone sexually, it's more on the milder side. But, you know, I didn't seek any kind of legal counsel against him or anything like that. I'm not even necessarily trying to embarrass him because I nipped it in the bud myself. But shoot, when I think about it, I'm pretty sure that he's probably made a lot of women feel uncomfortable. I'm pretty sure. And I mean, not like I could find those women. I can go out and be like, hey, have you ever, you know, hung out with so-and-so and he made you feel uncomfortable sexually? But I'm pretty sure there's a woman out there who has felt uncomfortable with him and maybe thought it was her, but really he's a perv. Maybe one of those women will hear my situation. Yeah, so anyway, I'm healing from the situation. I'm totally letting it go. I just needed to put it out there for myself and for others.